Welcome back to Sissy Maya. Make sure to subscribe to our channel to never miss an update. Additionally, consider subscribing to my Patreon to get access to these features, and much more. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you how I ended up gaining all this weight. I wasn't always like this. Once, I was muscular, fit and strong. Back then, I was a dedicated weight trainer and a bit of a local fitness enthusiast. I worked out daily and watched every bite I ate. My body was tight and toned, the kind that caught a lot of attention. I used to wake up and flex in front of the mirror, proud of my muscles. Looking back, I see how vain that was, but at the time, I was just showing off. Then everything changed in an instant, what people now call the Great Swap. Scientists and spiritual folks have their theories, but I'm practical. One moment I was in my apartment after a workout, and the next, the room spun and my head felt dizzy. The first odd thing I noticed was a strange taste in my mouth. I blinked twice and realized I wasn't in my apartment anymore. I was somewhere else, someone else's place. The layout was similar but the furniture was all wrong. I wasn't in the shower, I was sitting on a couch watching a daytime soap. And this wasn't my body. I felt long, soft hair draping my shoulders. I'd always kept my hair short before, but now it was a lot. I looked down and was shocked. I was enormous. Massive chests sagged heavily on my chest. My round belly blocked my view of my legs. My arms were flabby, and my hands were chubby, holding a spoon and an open jar of peanut butter. That explained the weird taste in my mouth. I'd been eating spoonfuls of it. I struggled to stand, unsure how to balance this new weight. I turned off the blaring TV and waddled down the hallway to the bathroom mirror. I was Brenda Ellis, a woman who lived just down the hall from me. I barely knew her. Nobody in the building really knew each other well. I'd seen her climb the stairs a few times and maybe said good morning once or twice. That was it. I had no clue where she worked or what she cared about, or how she let herself go like this. Taking stock, my hair was dark brown, curly, and shoulder length. My face looked round and soft, my cheeks and jowls wobbled when I moved. I wore old, worn pink bunny slippers with thick grey socks underneath. A large, faded terrycloth bathrobe wrapped around me. Inside, I wore huge white cotton panties with flowers and a stained white t-shirt with kittens on it, chocolate stains included. Great. Somehow, my fit body was gone, replaced by this slob of a form. If Brenda thought she could keep my body and leave this mess to me, she was wrong. It was time for a serious talk. I tied the bathrobe tighter and stumbled out of the bathroom. Normally, I wouldn't let anyone see me like this, not even in a body that wasn't mine. But I was furious, and nothing could hold me back. I jogged down the hall, feet thudding, until I reached my own apartment. The short trip left me winded. I paused, panting before pounding on the door. After a pause, the door opened and there was my familiar face and body, wet from the shower. A towel was wrapped around me in a way that concealed my chest. "Oh my God, I'm so glad to see you, Brenda," my body said quickly, pulling me inside. I don't know what happened, but I got changed into Mr. Donovan from down the hall. I took a moment. Whoever was in my body wasn't Brenda Ellis. But if it wasn't her, then what was going on? "Okay, calm down," I said, surprised at how high and soft my new voice sounded. "I'm not really Brenda Ellis. I'm Eric Donovan, and that's my body you're in. How are you feeling?" "I'm Megan Lewis," my body stammered, tears streaming down. Megan collapsed into my arms. If I weren't so close to this chaos, I might have found the sight hilarious. A towering, 6 feet 5 inches man, half naked and weeping while holding a 300-pound woman wrapped in a grimy bathrobe. As Megan sobbed, I hugged him tightly, trying to recall who Megan Lewis was. Obviously, I didn't know my own building well. There was a Lewis woman on the 3rd floor, Linda, Laura, or Lana, I thought. She was a single mom with a little girl, around 6 or 7. "Megan?" I asked softly. "Are you the daughter of Mrs. Lewis upstairs?" He nodded without a word. "How old are you?" I'll be 9 this October, he answered. 9 years old. The last time I saw her, she must have been 6 or 7. And now, here she was, a 33-year-old man in my body. It's going to be okay, Megan, I said, even though I wasn't sure. We'll get you back to your own body. Taking his hand, I led him upstairs at a slow pace, not wanting to tire myself out again. Megan seemed unfamiliar with my body's balance too and moved cautiously. I let him guide us to the Lewis's apartment since I didn't know the way. We knocked, and a small girl in a pink sweater, jeans, and a ponytail opened the door. That's my body, Megan shouted in my deep, loud voice. Hush, I said calmly. We'll fix this. I looked at the girl standing in the doorway, frowning. I'm Eric Donovan from downstairs. And this is Megan Lewis, in my old body, I explained. Something strange happened, but I imagine you're aware since you're not the real Megan. The girl visibly relaxed and motioned us inside. I'm Megan's mother, she said. My name's Michelle. Nice to meet you, Mr. Donovan. She extended a delicate hand, which I shook, both of us trying to keep some normalcy amid the madness. Over there, she pointed to the corner, in my old body is Harold Fletcher. I turned confused toward a middle-aged woman sitting in an armchair, dressed in a red sweatshirt and black stretch pants, her blonde hair tied back. She looked a bit heavy around the thighs but not overly so, an attractive woman for a mom her age. But I had no idea who Harold Fletcher was. Michelle whispered, Mr. Fletcher is the elderly man from the first floor, the one with the oxygen machine. I smiled and waddled over to shake hands with Fletcher. He returned a distant smile. He seemed oddly content with all this. Maybe the shock of swapping bodies had scrambled his mind, or perhaps he finally had a younger brain. Suddenly, loud crying came from behind me. Megan and Michelle embraced, another bizarre Dear Diary moment. When they finished, Megan sat on the couch, and Michelle offered me coffee. No thanks, Mrs. Lewis, I said. I want to figure out what happened and how to get back to our own bodies. She sighed. I don't have good news. Mr. Fletcher and I have been watching the news. It's chaotic, but it seems something happened worldwide. People everywhere suddenly swapped bodies with nearby others. I glanced at the muted TV. 2 burly men in flannel shirts and tool belts sat behind the news desk, probably anchors who'd swapped with camera or lighting crew. What are we supposed to do? They're telling everyone to stay calm, Michelle said. We're supposed to return to our normal lives in these swapped bodies. The government promises to find a way to restore everyone. But no explanation has been given yet, so I don't see how they'll fix this soon. I nodded, trying to absorb it all. Most people might manage their jobs in new bodies, but how was I supposed to lead workouts trapped in this obese woman's frame? Michelle kept talking, and eventually Mr. Fletcher spoke up. His mind was sharp, just quiet. We decided to gather everyone in the building to sort out who was who. Maybe then, I could find the real Brenda. While Michelle and Fletcher went door to door, I took Megan back to my place and helped him into some of my clothes, a simple t-shirt and jeans. Mr. Donovan, shouldn't you get dressed too? He asked. I chuckled. I doubt any of my old clothes will fit me now. Well, duh, he said, letting out a surprisingly high-pitched squeal for a grown man. Go down the hall and try on some of Miss Ellis' clothes. I really didn't want to return to her apartment, but I was starting to feel uncomfortable in her lounge clothes. Reluctantly, I agreed, and we headed to Brenda Ellis' place. Megan helped me find a pair of enormous blue jeans that looked like tents. Yet, once I squeezed into them, they felt tight and snug. They had no pockets, which made me feel even more awkward wearing such obviously feminine jeans. But when I looked in the mirror, I noticed how these jeans made my butt and thighs look enormous. I sighed heavily. Megan helped me put on tennis shoes and tied the laces for me since I couldn't reach them. I wondered how Brenda managed all this. Regardless, I looked somewhat presentable now. We headed downstairs. Going downstairs was so much easier than going up, and joined the other tenants gathered outside. We never found the real Brenda Ellis. Mr. Fletcher's body was discovered dead in his apartment, along with his wife's aged body. We assumed the shock of swapping into such frail bodies had killed whoever ended up there. A chill ran down my spine there, but for luck goes I suddenly. Being a heavy woman didn't seem so bad. Agatha Fletcher was actually a pimply teenage boy named Tony Messiah, who had become Ashley Bennett, a girl about his age, wearing a white tank top and denim shorts. Agatha and Harold Fletcher looked strange together, a teenage boy and middle-aged woman holding hands and talking quietly. Tony couldn't keep his hands off his new self, rubbing the sides of his chest. We never found the real Ashley Bennett, but a heavy-set man approached her and whispered, "Dearie, that's not very ladylike. Maybe you should explore your body in private." Several others were missing from the building, while new arrivals showed up. A taxi driver became Mrs. Gabriel, another mom from the third floor. A homeless man became Mr. Stanton, a respectable young insurance agent. A cop and his partner, parked nearby, swapped into Cindy Richards and Tanya Chambers, two college roommates. We talked and got to know each other, listening to news reports on a radio someone brought outside. Identity fraud cases were already surfacing, people claiming new identities for wealth or power. The government had set up a commission to investigate these claims. Top officials were being interviewed once their new bodies were accepted. The message was clear: we were all supposed to return to our original lives. I told Michelle and Megan they could take all my old clothes for Megan if they wanted. They were grateful and suggested I do the same with Brenda Ellis since she never showed up to reclaim her life. I felt guilty but realized I had little choice. That night, I dug through Brenda's apartment and brought back a few boxes of her clothes. I could have moved into her place, but we were told to keep living our own lives. Stealing her clothes was bad enough. I refused to pretend to be anyone but Eric Donovan. I spent a restless night in a loose, blue flannel nightgown. Morning came too soon. I used to be a morning person, disciplined and up at dawn. Now, I felt drained and unmotivated. No wonder Brenda let herself get so heavy. This body seemed to drain ambition. I wanted to stay in bed forever. But I'm not Brenda Ellis, I reminded myself. I'm Eric Donovan, and discipline is who I am. Struggling, I hauled myself out of bed. The springs groaned under my weight. Hunger hit fast, with a sudden craving for something sweet. Again, I blamed the body. "No breakfast for you," I said, scowling at my bulging belly. "If I'm stuck with you for the next few decades, you better get used to a strict diet starting now." I shuffled down the hall to the bathroom, stripped in the dark to avoid looking at my body, and showered quickly. We all have lives to lead, I reminded myself. Being overweight doesn't mean life stops. I changed into a fresh pair of size 12 white cotton panties, slipped on some oversized fluorescent green sweatpants, grabbed the closest thing to a sports bra in her closet, and pulled on a dark green hooded sweatshirt that was way too big. Dressed like that, I stomped out the door and headed down the stairs. I glanced at my car but decided against driving. For one, I didn't trust the idea of some kid or anyone in a stranger's body behind the wheel. The streets just weren't safe right now. Besides, I could definitely use the exercise. My oversized chests bounced with each step, despite the bra. Being a woman was hard enough, why did I have to be this massive one? When I finally reached the gym, I collapsed into a chair to catch my breath. The tiny furniture barely fit me, but I didn't care. I'd made it. This was the start of the end for Brenda Ellis' heavy life. The day dragged on. None of my classes showed up. In hindsight, I should have expected that. With everything going on, hitting the gym was probably the last thing on most people's minds. Then, around 5:30, just as I was about to pack up and head home, my Take It Easy class arrived. It was a group of about a dozen middle-aged women, mostly working moms, who met twice a week for a light workout after work. All 12 made it, though not in their own bodies, of course. Actually, Mrs. Conberg was the only one still in her original body. Some lucky few hadn't been shuffled around. The other 11 Take It Easy ladies were now a bizarre mix of genders, ages, and backgrounds. But they all wanted to exercise, so I reintroduced myself. We all laughed at my situation. It was pretty ironic that a fitness instructor ended up in the body of someone so unlike the ideal. We had a good workout, though shorter than usual since none of us were used to our new bodies. It wasn't wise to push ourselves too hard until we knew our limits. Besides, this group always preferred the social aspect over sweating buckets. Afterward, a man with a thick mustache wearing a pink and white sweatsuit approached me. "Mr. Donovan," he asked. "Can I still call you that, or would you prefer Miss Donovan? Or something else?" I laughed. Humor helps cope with crazy situations. "Call me Eric," I said, smiling. "But I'm afraid you have the advantage. I can't place your face." He giggled. "Sorry, I should have introduced myself. I'm Carol Mayers." Carol had been one of the heavier women in the class. She had a pretty face and always seemed comfortable in her skin. Unlike most, she was a single mom of 2. Her husband passed in a helicopter accident years ago. "Carol, of course," I said. "Sorry I didn't recognize you. What's up?" "Well, Eric," she said, nervously shifting her foot, "I was wondering if you might want to have dinner sometime." That caught me off guard. I'd had crushes before, been a decent-looking guy once. But now, on my second day as a heavy woman, someone was asking me out. "Carol, have you seen me lately?" I asked, incredulous. "I'm huge." "I used to feel the same way," Carol said. "Honestly, I think this body swap was kind of a blessing. Before, I thought my feelings for you were just a silly crush on a nice, good-looking guy who was kind to me and my kids after Jack died. I've liked you for a long time, but I was the fat girl, and there was no way you'd go out with me." I started to argue but stopped myself. After a moment's thought, I realized Carol was right. I probably would have politely declined her invitation, and it would have been because of her appearance. Sure, I'd have made gentle excuses, tried to let her down softly, and convinced myself I was being kind. But the truth is, I wouldn't have dated her just because of her weight. Apart from that, she was an amazing woman. "The tables have turned now," Carol said. "I'm not sure whose body I'm in, or whose body you're in. But since we're not who we used to be physically, I know my feelings for you are real. It's not just about looks. I want to be there for you now, to help you get used to a life I once lived." "Carol, I'm going to lose this weight," I said instinctively. She laughed. "Of course you are, honey. That's what I always told myself too. Maybe you're stronger than I was. That's not the point. I just want to know if you'd like to go out with me. Maybe not dinner, but dancing? Or a play? Do you like theater?" I was stunned. Not only was Carol still interested, but she was willing to be seen with me, this new, heavy version of me, in public. "What do you say, Eric?" she asked. "Take a chance." Despite how strange everything was, I couldn't say no. "All right," I smiled. "I'd love to go out with you." And, as the movies say, the rest is history. It's been a couple of months now. Carol and I are still together, and things are serious. She and her kids moved in with me, becoming a great addition to the 71st Street apartments, where, at last, we all know each other's names. Her boys, aged 6 and 8, ended up in each other's bodies, so they adjusted well. Carol teaches junior high English. I still work at the gym, mostly helping people adapt to their new bodies. In our free time, Carol and I babysit Megan Lewis. Oh, and I've lost 43 pounds already. I'm not fully healthy yet, but Carol says I look good enough. Still, I'm aiming to shed another 60 or 70 pounds. I have a feeling Carol might pop the question soon, and I want a head start slimming down to look good in my wedding dress for him. If you appreciated this story and wish to show your support, don't forget to join me on Patreon for exclusive content.